You know, it's interesting. Last week we were up here and you referred to Brokeback Mountain as an existential love story. And now here we are with a straight up existential facing down the universe story. So I'm interested in, what juncture were you at that this contemplation seemed right for you? And how did this material come to you? What did you see in it? When did you see a movie?
It's really hard to answer. There's no simple answer to that. But I found I make movies based on what I interest in life, existential themes I care the most for that period of time. I think in this period, I was getting older. I was thinking man's relation with God, what makes sense, and I've been a storyteller. So why sometimes storytelling feels stupid. Like you narrow things down, you dumb things down so people can follow a storyline. But life is a lot more complicated. I'm Chinese, so I believe in the Taoist saying, if a way can be explained, can be articulated, it's not the way, the way. We try to make sense out of the chaotic life we live in. It doesn't really make sense. That's also existential. Anyway, I guess I was in that period, but then you need faith. You need story to communicate, to keep on going, to survive. So that theme really attracts me, and floating attracts me too. I guess like Yann Martel himself, I have identity issues. My parents came from China to Taiwan. We're floating. I came to the States, where it's home, on both sides of where's my identity? So you see a boy floating, that's coming of age story. And what is that tiger? I think the book did something to me, and then I took off. I put a line that's not in the book. I said at the end, Pai says, the story is yours. Once I tell the story, it's yours. I think I read the book, then I just take it, and I tell my story, and you watch the movie, and the story is yours. If the critics don't like it, it's their story. It has nothing to do with me. I believe that's the function of a story, because story has a beginning, middle, and end. It makes sense. It has, at the end, it gives you some wisdom that keep you alive. It has meanings. It makes sense. So anyway, that book inspired me to do something and to take on the journey, which is, to me, this is unusual. I'm dramatically trained. I went to drama school and I couldn't be an actor, so I changed track to direct. I always think my movies like capture actors doing acting, very much like Brokeback Mountain. But this is a very visual experience. You cannot articulate, and it's so inspiring. So because the images back then, even now, if you make this movie, it's very hard, very expensive. So I have to do something almost bending backwards, like pre-visualize. I have to prove that with art. Turn off.
Sorry, yeah, we can cut the projection.
It took a year before the studio greenlight the movie, because how do we see it? I cannot prove to them. And I casted a young Indian boy, a nobody who's not even an actor. And I want to do 3D. It's very expensive, big visual effects movie, water and all that. So I have to make cartoon out of the journey, nearly the entire thing, before they approve the budget to make the movie. So I had to force myself to see that world before I go about things. So it's not drama. It's not verbal. It's purely visual. Visual is representation. It's not cause and effect. When I talk, it makes sense because I have to make you understand. It's linear. It has a narrative. Language has when you articulate something, it has a cause and effect. But a visual representation like that, it's not about that. It's like everybody go to in their interpretation. So I learned to visualize something in my head. It started with philosophical need that I need to deal with that issue in life. But eventually, you have to put that aside and just see what it is. And I know people are gonna guess, so I had to prepare 3 stories. Like there's 2 obvious stories. Then, then the writer suggests that, and so is so, so is so. The zebra is this, and the tiger is you, and you have to prepare at least that story. So there's 3 stories. At least people have to have a good argument. Nobody will lose or win. So that kind of filmmaking was kind of new to me. It's visual. It's not narrative. If I go too narrative, then I cannot. It's very hard for me as I introduce the film. Then I have a beginning, middle, end. When people follow that, it's very hard to judge what they're watching on, and I have to do something a little tricky. So the first person who tell the story is the third person has to be the first person. So the young Pai is experiencing it. The old Pai is telling a story. They're the same person. So somehow you can be watching and detach from it and do all those things. I think doing 3D helps. Even when you watch the movie in 2D, the story still makes sense. No, you still have a movie, but I think in the 3D world, I was learning something new, was open to a lot of possibilities in movie making. I think I don't really answer your question, but
That's great. You're making my job easy.
This is, I'm like, Pi, it's very hard to understand the filmmaker's life. When we make movie, we're not looking for answer. There's a certain reasons. We want to explore something. We want to learn something. We want to experiencing things. And we hope to share that experience, and then they take their imagination and do their thing. But when you ask me, I have to come up with answers. When I promote a movie, I have many answers, just so I can get by, so they can leave me alone. And there are things, of course, I need to get out of my chest, like the father thing. My father passed away, and I think in making Brokeback Mountain, I talk about that a little bit. I have no way to process my grief. My father never liked me to be a filmmaker. But when I want to retire, that's right before I made Brokeback Mountain. He said, go ahead, make a movie. You're still young. It's a bad example for your kid, for your boy. So I went to make, when he passed away, I got to make another movie. I made Brokeback Mountain. And I was busy. I never had the chance to process my grief. I think it come out a lot, not only in Brokeback Mountain, but here I got to say goodbye to him. So that's another reason that motivated me to do the movie. It's heartbreaking to me, but I don't want to tell the world because I need to process some grief. That's what I do this. Like I make very expensive, huge sequence of the boat sinking. God knows how many millions it takes, and endless meetings. I don't know where I come that energy to do that boat sinking process, and I didn't put any music in until the very end. The studio was like jumping up and down, like, there's no music, it's a big action sequence, what are you doing? It's like, no music at all. I insist on doing my way, because that's how I process certain of my feeling. I can come up with answers with many things, but I'll tell you really, it's just something in life I need to process, I need to explore, and this is a life-changing experience. I'm very thankful that I get to do it, even though studio gave me trouble, but it did support the movie. I was very thankful Taiwan support me making this movie.
So you made this in Taiwan,
Yeah.
primarily.
We spent 2 weeks in India, and then 2 days in Montreal. So that was it. So 95%, everything shot in Taiwan. I'm very proud of it. Taiwan has everything. Uh, and they so want to give. And I bring an American crew there, crew around the world. And they assume that this is how Hollywood do things. I make them believe every movie is made this way. And then the Hollywood is stuck in Taiwan. It's in my turf. If they want to survive, they're gonna try something new, not how they did in LA. That tank thing, we just created, we invented. Many things. It happened only once in making that movie, because we get to do it in Taiwan. It's a beautiful thing. I would, when I got the Oscar, the biggest relief is that, it's gonna be okay, I guess. I didn't make a mess.
It is visually spectacular, and amazing that you had the audacity and knew you could take on this material and make a really compelling film about a boy lost at sea that, like you said, kind of goes beyond the narrative, and it's this beautiful experiential thing. At what point did you decide, like you said, you've made films on film before this? When did it occur to you that 3D was the way to tell this story? And then what was the journey with the technology like?
I was guessing. But I think I came to the States not understanding English that much. I spoke broken English when I directed Sense Sensibility. So over the years, I got to be very good at guessing. So I assume this can work, assume that can. So, and people pay me to spend a lot of money so I can learn those things. And you have to learn how to bullshit them so they think they know you know what you're doing. You have to know enough to get pass by. I think that's the craft you need to know. But then get to know how to talk to them so they think you know. But actually, the most fun part is something nobody knows. That's the exciting part. In making that movie, that's the whole journey. If I make a movie about drift across the Pacific on a raft with a tiger, I need to be in fear. I need to be unknown. I need to be searching. I think when a movie meant to be seen by audience, the movie God will help you do that. You got to have that faith. How did I find that boy? It's a miracle. No, his brother his younger brother came to we read 3,000 boys, because every Indian friend, filmmaker friend, told me before I get onto this journey, told me the same thing. Don't use anything from Bollywood. They're not usable. You want to stay away as far as you can. So I decided I cannot use the professionals. So we go to high school, go to college, and search for the boy. Suraj escorted his brother. He was nervous, his younger brother, but he was too young. So our casting agent from India said, that boy, he come in. So he was a goofy little with glasses on. Each round, I saw his pictures, and maybe Pai can be goofy until I saw him in person. The third round, I said, take off your glasses. I see Pai, and he did my test was telling the second story. It just make you cry. He tried once, and I give him direction. Imagine the zebra is your sister, give him that information. That's all I told him. And then he told the same story with tears in his eyes. You just see the movie. He cannot dream, probably never seen ocean, grew up in Delhi, New Delhi. So then he went to Taiwan. How did I meet the tiger? How do I know that tiger in animation can work like real? And the water, 3D, I know nothing. I don't know what makes me, I cannot tell because I'm in grief, the process, my father's passing away. or my identity issue or or whatever, or just out of curiosity. Something made me do that, and I think you gotta have faith in making movies. Not making every movie's like this, but sometimes you just can feel it. It's spiritual. We have 3 months. The last 3 months of shooting, we're shooting in that water tank that we invented. That you do the pattern of the wave, and you don't let it bounce back. You have to dissolve it at the other end. So it's an elongated water tank.
How big was the tank?
And the maker just happened to be in Taichung. They make for the world's water park, the machine. They happen to be in Taichung, the city I'm shooting. So you figure that out. It doesn't make sense. And I found everything in Taiwan. How do I fake a ship, the Israeli ship that's built in 1949? And we found all the parts in south of Taiwan. A lot of things happen, like just, you know you're gonna make a movie that's kind of, that's a spirit. So I follow that thing. I do believe that's a magical story to tell. I do want to examine the value of storytelling because I have big problem with that. At that age, I started to have problem of telling stories. And people in our business, the doctrine is story, story, story. I always feel like I want to challenge that. I think it's a good test. It's very fortunate I got to make it in Taiwan, so nobody asked me questions. You just try. The last 3 months, every shot is that boy. Every shot is so difficult. To the pattern, you study water is very hard to figure out. Then you figure out the lens is 3D, then it's fogged up, then it's got banged this way, that way. No continuity. No, the boy has to do all the continuities. Shooting is very difficult. Sometimes we spend a whole night. There are a couple of times, not one shot get made. You just want to cry. And we're shooting in progress so the boy can lose weight. When we have lunch and he has one slice of apple, then he do workout to lose weight. So that's for 3 weeks. And I forbid anybody talk to him. So he's not talking to anybody, and I put on a headset, some weird philosophical music, just to drive him crazy. After a while, he become like the center of our attention. He becomes that spiritual thing. Hundreds filmmakers, sophisticated adults, professionals, we all follow that boy. He's like the leader of the whole thing. We all go pretty nuts, I think. It's 3 months. When we do the premiere tour, promotion tour, the last stop is Taiwan. We went back to the city where we shot the movie, and we were in a high-speed train coming back. So I asked Suraj, the boy, so which story you prefer? Now we're done this, we're done. The movie's doing fine, I think. We go around the world selling it, we talk about it, it's all processed out. Now it's done. And we go back to Taiwan, it's a full circle. So which story you prefer? He said, I prefer the second story. I said, why? He said, the first story is scarier. No, we leave through. I totally got what he's saying. He said that has imagination in there. When we go through that, he said, you guys are watching me. I'm watching all you guys. You all go crazy. Just the look in your face. I prefer the second story. So that's a wonderful experience. I cannot articulate what the story means, why I'm doing it, what it's supposed to mean. After the movie, there's a lot of theory. There's a fourth story, there's a fifth story. They're more horrifying than what I prefer. I think it's a magical thing. Sometimes filmmakers, you gotta believe in those things.
Which story do you prefer?
I cannot tell. There are things I cannot tell. Because if I say it, what what certain symbol means. I planning a lot of things to make people guess. But if I'm to tell it, I kill the imagination. People think that's a standard answer. So I sort of refuse to I think your guess is as good as mine. And I will take what I think. I do have my theories, but I'm taking that to the grave.
I want to make sure we have time for questions from the audience, but real quick, you did get some professionals in this movie, Taboo, Gerard Depardieu. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you what it was like to work with the late Irfan Khan, who sadly passed away, and how he came to be part of the movie.
He's a wonderful actor. I miss him. He's a brilliant actor. But sometimes his his English is hard to understand, so we kind of loop quite a bit. Other than that, you saw his performance. He's one of the best from India. So the problem with that is like we shoot that last. After 3 months shooting waters, none of the crew, including myself, stand on steady ground, and the earth is kind of shaking on us. So we're not used to flat surface that doesn't move. So we're all a little bit strange. When I first direct him and the actor, we're strange. So we're kind of clueless. We're in a different space. So that took a little bit time. But a lot of his performance a little later when we go to Montreal, the 2 days, a lot of it was shot there. So that was a lot better. We experienced the movie somehow, even it's not edited. But he didn't know. He didn't see anything. He just come here to tell a story as if it's on live. He has to feel everything we feel. So that's a lot of information I have to give it to him. Sort of unfair, because I know he doesn't know. And it's hard to articulate. So I gave him a lot of confusing directions in different directions. But he's a great actor. He understands. And I think at the end of the day, he does deliver. I'm very thankful, and I miss him. The boy is the most incredible thing, as you can see.
Yeah, he carries the movie in a spectacular way.
He is the movie. The mother is great. We've become very good friend. Taboo, it's a big Indian star. The person who played Pai's father is a very good stage actor. I couldn't be happier to come with the result. I think not only I'm very proud of the movie, I think there's some miracles in it. It meant to happen. This is the first 3D movie I shot. First time I experienced digital cinema. A lot of things I didn't understand. Halfway, it just occurred to me, half of the cinematography, what we do, is the casting shadows to amend that missing dimension. Now you have the dimension. Why we light this way? And all of a sudden, I don't know how to make movies. It just threw me off. Everything I know was under challenge. And then later on, halfway in shooting in the water tank, I realized in 3D, performance has to change. Because the monitor and my monitor, the 3D, it just look different. You need to be more subtle and more dimension. You have to be like many times better to even to be watchable, because your eyes is sharper. When your eyes are that sharp, 24 frame doesn't work. So when you shoot 3D, you cannot watch in 24 frames. It's very hard. But for my eyes, now it's very stroby. And Pai's journey is relatively peaceful because I cannot rock it. So all this, it's opened up a lot of questions about cinema and all that. It's I don't know, it's a fortunate or unfortunate. Then I started to take a different road. I think cinema is something, it's humbling. You never stop learning. Our association, our head with emotion, with our projection, with our memory, with our imagination, and visual presentation. When I talk, it's arbitrary. Words doesn't mean anything. You string together, you create meanings. But visual, something like movie, so real, is representational. It is what it is. It's a very, it should be very magical. It shouldn't be that simple, like how I watch movie in regular movies. Just tell a story. I think it can be very complex, very inspiring, very spiritual. So that's a journey I took, and I am very eager to share with people. I think I made a different movie. I made a change in knowing how to make movies. And thank you, make the effort to project in a pretty good 3D projection.
Tried our best.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Um, it's as good as a regular theater can do, but there are better ways to show it. But you're doing as good as I'm surprised to see in a theater like this of those images. I haven't seen those in a while. So, it's very emotional for me too.
I'm glad. Yeah, I was transfixed. We have a couple mics out in the audience. If you just want to throw your hand up, there's someone way in the back corner over there.
李安老师好。My name is Julia Gu. I'm an actor here in New York City. It's my beautiful dream that I get to work with you one day. My question for you is, I know that you always challenge yourself to do something new. And I wonder what's on your list that you're like, oh, I really want to challenge that.
Oh, what's
Thank you.
left to explore?
Yeah, what is a new challenge you'd like to take on?
I want to continue to explore the dimensional filmmaking, but after 2 tries, it's been very hard. I think right now, just to make movies is challenging enough. It's a hard topic to say. It's kind of depressing. I do have 3, 4 movies. Put aside 3D or what have you, a story I would like to make. They're not happened yet. I hope this year I can start making. I just turned 70, but sometimes I can get angry. I think I still have some stamina there, some strength there. If I can get mad, probably I still have a few movies to make. But I would like to tell story in a different ways than how I used to do it. Of course, emotion and imagination always have to be the art of movie making, of cinema. That's precious to me. I hope people have the patience. One of the challenges today, which is, I don't think movies going uphill. It's going downhill to me for a long time. Like these days, people don't give you time to set up a movie. That's pretty painful. I need time to do something I think great, imaginative. I need to set it up. You got to spend time to stay with the character you care about. People are in a rush today, especially a studio. I hope movie go through a revolution now, because the industry is making it's impossible to create something new. And movie by nature, I think, is always you need something fresh and new to go to the unknown. But it's getting harder. I think that's bad. I think that needs revolution. I think we need to figure out new way of movie making to gain our spirit, independent spirit, to be imaginative, to break away from the restriction, including our stiffened imagination, the way we tell stories. So many things to do. I hope I can contribute still in the 2D movie making, and part of me still want to explore, experiment on the 3D images with the proper frame rate, so to speak, so you can see things clear. And I noticed when you see things that clear, we're not good enough to make movie or watch that movie. It's not the problem of the media, it's us. We're not good enough. So I would like to keep trying. But in the meantime, telling story is still fun. I just want to find different ways to do them so they're fresh. So that's what's in my mind now. I'm struggling. I haven't made movie in 6 years. If it's hard for me, I think it's hard for everybody. I think we gotta try. Movie is something I think very important to us. We have to keep going, keep something fresh, keep inventing.
Over here, in the blue sweatshirt, light blue sweatshirt here.
Really appreciate for the film because it's my favorite film from Annely's work. So my question is, could you share more about your identity issue when you were making this film? And also the soundtrack that you put into this film, because it's very interesting. I heard lots of like traditional like Chinese sound music. So could you, because we talk about the tigers, but I felt like in the past I heard less about the soundtrack that was in this film. Thank you.
So the first question is what?
The first question was about
Share what?
your identity issues while making the film.
Well, there are people, they know their identity, and then many of us, we don't have a certain identity. We're drifting. I think Yann Martel, the writer of the book, has that problem. He was Jewish, and his father was a diplomat. He grew up in like 15 different places. So then he's really a French Canadian. So he's searching. I'm searching all my life, and I want people to take me as who I am instead of what group I believe. But that's really it's really a mix. So I think in the movie world, I can express that. I can make sense out of it. In real world, you have to be a groupie. People make you do that, all the politics and everything. It makes me feel very uncomfortable. So my parents went to Taiwan from the Civil War, and I grew up in Taiwan, which is a mix of Chinese and a lot of Japanese influences. And certainly we grew up watching American movie and television. It was a mix. And Taiwan go through its period, so is China. It's very confusing to somebody like me. But it seems like something I was taught, I was brought up, doesn't really exist and nobody care anymore. So I gotta find my thing. I don't tell my story, but I use the Indian story. Sorry, I use the Indian boy to tell my story. So you see a lot of images that's floating, a lot of father teaching, that's my life. There are parts that's my life, there are parts that's not my life. I'm making a movie. I'm making a movie for everybody. So it's really a mixture. I think when you see my movie, this is in retrospective, every 2-3 movie, people say, why you keep changing? But first, I'm an avid filmmaker. I want to learn all these things. I'm curious about making those movies, but also to keep myself fresh. The other is I don't have a fixed thing. I think at the end of the day, I want some security that nobody gives me, something I can believe in, but the thing keep betraying me. It keeps changing. It's like Tao is saying, no, the only thing that doesn't change, that's easy to be understood, is everything will change on you. So that's my life. It's everybody's life. Life is full of changings. That's why we need to artistic work to express that feeling, because it doesn't really make sense. And we're groping for something we can believe in and hang on to, our faith. But we're groping. There's no such thing. And I believe in movie, that fictional world, more than I believe in the real world. Movie, I trust that more than reality, because that's my imagination, that's my spirit. That's why I make those movies, because I don't have the answers of what's really my identity. So that's not really, I found myself not giving answers, but,
I think that's
but you
a
made me talk. That's and what's the second he was asking?
beautiful answer. The second question was about the soundtrack and the influences for the soundtrack.
You mean the music? Michael Dana did the music, and he got an Oscar for this. I'm very happy for him. This is the third movie I work with him, and a short project, so 3.5. First time I work with him because he's an expert in India. He's studying India for a long. He's a Canadian, and he's very good at mixing something I really like is ethnic music with orchestra. You know, nobody play music like Western people do. They play pitches, accuracy, orchestra. They all go, but it's very hard to mix with orchestra. But Michael is an expert on that. His expertise is Indian. So, so I thought of him doing this movie. Some of it is improv, like the lullaby. We got a great singer just humming it, a lullaby. So you have the tune. She's just humming, improvise, and then Michael will collect it along with me. Which phrase you like? Which phrase you like? Then we make music out of that, and then he did the orchestra and everything. Some of it's like that. Some is just orchestra, in Indian influence orchestra. Some because the God, it's like we go Catholic. Michael's Catholic, it's like Irish, so would use that a lot for the Christian part of it. India, and he's an expert, Indian. For the orchestra, I asked Michael to do something that's very counter his intuitive expert. Sometimes when I hire somebody do the opposite of what they're good at, that sometimes work out pretty good, and sometimes can be really bad. But but I think if you insist long enough, a talent is a talent. Michael's best is doing not clear melody, not narrative, and he will entangle two. I'm not a musical person. I'm not good at explaining it, but two different tones, melodies, and entangles. It is very hard to tell what it is. Very, very great at expressing internal struggling and complexities. But with Pi, I need a very simple line. For the studio, also for the innocence part of it, for the faith. So that's the very opposite of what Michael does. It's a clear music, clear melody. That's a killer. We tried a very long time. It's quite painful, but I think he got it pretty good. We have a big orchestra. A lot of the music come from India. We recorded differently. Some recorded in India, long distance. Some were recorded in Toronto, and the final mix orchestra is down in a Fox lot in LA. So it's really a combination of things. I'm very happy with the result. I think it's both spiritual and soothing. A lullaby. Some of the story can be horrific. You do need that lullaby-ish and clear tone, that innocent tone, as levity, to lift the spirit. Otherwise, it can be like, I remember the first cut, I show it to friends and family, and nobody talked for like a long time. It's like, it's much longer, by the way. The first screening to the studio, they're like quiet for 10 minutes. Like, all the executives like, that's grim. But gradually for example, the second story, when Pi tells it, I want it really bleak. No imagination, just facts. And it's very hard to watch. Finally, I get softened. I put in some sympathetic music, so it's actually watchable. There's the movie reality. There's a thing in your idea, but movie making is not like whatever you think, you do it and you get it. Sometimes things just come out different than what you think, or your imagination is wrong. You shouldn't be insisting. It should go along with what's happening sometimes. Sometimes you insist, sometimes you want to go along with what it wants to be. I think music, it goes both ways. A lot of time I insist on Michael doing this and that, but a lot of time we just listen to what the movie wants.
Well, I know it's late and I want to respect your time since we'll put you through another round of questioning tomorrow. But, and a note real quick, on your way out, if you could please make sure that you return your glasses, that would be most appreciated. But please give a really warm thanks again to Ang Lee.